final speaker for this morning's session is Don McMoran. He's the Director for Skagit County Extension, and he's actually going to talk about what you mentioned, Eric, is one of the new projects they've got going on that's regional. It's all about irrigation efficiency.
All right, good morning, everyone. I realize I'm the last speaker between you and your lunchtime break, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible for you. So I'm here today to talk about the Water Irrigation Systems Efficiency Grant. This was a grant that we wrote up at WSU Skagit County Extension to confront insufficient water in Washington State and also look at increasing irrigation efficiency through education and consultation. The total grant for 3 years is $455,000. Of that, we have to come up with matching funds of the same amount. So people like myself and other faculty members will be working on this for free for the next 3 years. But we do have the opportunity to hire some individuals to help out with this particular process. So as for the PIs, you have myself as well as Dr. Troy R. Peters. Dr. Troy Peters and I have been working on irrigation efficiencies for the last 9 years. He is by far the utmost expert on irrigation within Washington State, and I really rely on his expertise a lot. He's going to be leading a grad student in this process, and that grad student will be going around and doing a lot of the evaluations and a lot of the write-ups of these particular programs. Other partners, we've partnered with 5 other areas, so 5 target areas within Washington State. So in the southwest corner of Washington State, we have Sheila Gray. She's the director of WSU Lewis County Extension. To the southeast, we have Jeremy Cowan. He's the assistant professor of extension at WSU Spokane County Extension, and he's also the interim director there. For tribal relations, we have Linda McLean. She's the director of the WSU Colville Reservation. And then in Ferry County, we have Trevor Lane. He's the director of WSU Ferry County Extension. As far as staff goes within my office, we have Charlie Gunderson, who's going to be leading the outreach and translation support for our Latino audience. And then Kate Seymour, who's going to be dealing with a lot of the coordination efforts as well as EQIP support within the entire state. Also, we have several external partners to this particular program. So we've partnered with Viva Farms and Rob Smith, who's going to be leading some educational outreach opportunities in Skagit County, and then John Knox, who's the regional coordinator with Growing Veterans, who's also going to be operating some educational outreach events to veterans within Washington State. So the goal is very simple. We want to increase irrigation efficiencies and reduce agricultural water waste through education and consultation. It's a completely voluntary program. So the farmer signs up at their local extension office, and then those referrals are sent back to our office, and then we coordinate an assessment with the farmer. 3 major goals of this particular grant is to educate and enroll farmers in the Irrigation Scheduler mobile system. This is a system that was created by Dr. Troy R. Peters in Prosser. If you haven't dealt with it or you haven't seen it, make sure you go online, do a quick search, plug in Irrigation Scheduler mobile. Go ahead and go to that site and plug in some various cropping scenarios. And this site links to all of the WSU Ag WeatherNet stations within the state and will help you track your irrigation scheduling needs. It's a fabulous program. Skagit County is leading the state per capita of farmers as far as farmers using this particular program. It's something that we want to get out to the rest of the state. It's been a very tight-knit secret for some reason, and we want to make sure we're getting that information out. getting the farmers to utilize this fabulous program that's created by Washington State University. Number 2 is to increase the water use efficiency, and this is once again a voluntary irrigation assessment. We're not going to mandate that any farmers sign up for this program, but we'd love to have you. And then making sure that we're quantifying the changes in water use efficiency rates of the participants. And then the third objective of the grant is to sign farmers up for the federal EQIP program so that they can get funding, federal funding, to make these necessary changes to their systems to increase efficiency levels on their farm. Yes. Yes, this is a statewide program. So yes, we'd love to have Washington, our Whatcom farmers sign up. And you can either send those through Chris Benedict and he can forward them to me, or you can send them directly to me. And my contact information will be at the end of the presentation. So Irrigation Scheduler Mobile, I told you it's a fabulous app. It uses the Ag WeatherNet stations. There are 175 of them throughout the state. We're going to be adding 2 additional stations through this grant. One in Ferry County, which does not have an Ag WeatherNet station, and then another one in Snohomish County that is very near and dear to a lot of my farmers' hearts in Skagit. So looking forward to adding those. Also, Jeremy Cowan at our most recent meeting suggested that they could benefit from an additional station as well. So if we get to the end of our grant and we still have additional funding, we may ask for a request to add an additional Ag WeatherNet station in Spokane as well. So what we've determined from the research that we've analyzed so far, if we can get farmers to utilize Irrigation Scheduler Mobile, there tends to be about an additional 20% in irrigation efficiency by using this app. So that's why we're encouraging farmers to sign up for it. And it also optimizes crop production by making sure the farmer is doing a good job of irrigating too. And so sometimes we see some losses or actually more usage in water as some of our farmers are actually under irrigating. So it's kind of that balance between making sure the farmer is doing a good job of irrigating, but then also doing it in the most efficient way possible. All right, a little bit about the assessments. What happens? What does it look like as we come out to your farm? We bring a team of individuals and we go through a checklist of, what is the system? What sorts of rates has it used historically? And then also work with the manufacturers on making sure everything is dialed in as well as possible. Then we move forward in the evaluation and plug in exactly where the water losses are taking place, and then move forward with a comprehensive list of recommendations back to the grower so that they can make those changes and bring efficiency rates up as much as possible. So also in this grant, we want to make sure that we can come back and reevaluate that system at a later date to make sure that, yes, indeed, they did make improvements on it and did take some of our advice. And a lot of times what I've seen in irrigation evaluations within Skagit County, it's simple things that a farmer can fix. Large leaks in the main line that really can change and really assist in making those large efficiency changes. And also just little things like we had one farmer that went from daytime irrigations to nighttime irrigations, and he saw about a 30% increase in irrigation efficiency just because the wind doesn't tend to blow as much at night in Skagit County. So it's finding these little culturally appropriate changes that we can make along the way to get farmers to be more efficient with their water. So like I said, we come out, we meet with the grower, we have these conversations, and then we start evaluating the system. So on the picture on the top right-hand corner, That's a picture with Dr. Troy R. Peters with an infrared a meter system. And so we're going to be purchasing a couple of these for our evaluators to use. They can bring to the farm to get an idea of how many gallons per minute our irrigation systems are using. Pressures are a big thing, but the biggest thing that we do is use catch cans and then measure how much water was collected in that to determine uniformity. So in an ideal system, each sprinkler would be applying the exact same amount of water. And so what we found is if we can go out, do the evaluation, determine which sprinklers are performing poorly, we can get that information back to the grower and they can make the changes moving that forward and getting us higher evaluations along the way. So we also, within this grant, we're going to be train the trainers, if you will. So the people that I talked about earlier within this presentation, they're going to have the opportunity to travel with us to the ITRC down in Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where they have one of the best irrigation evaluation systems in the United States. So the folks at ITRC are going to be training us up on all sorts of different irrigation systems and how to evaluate them. So the great thing about WSU WISE is it's not specific to one type of irrigation. We're going to cover the gamut. Whatever is in your county, come sign up with us. We can get there. We can evaluate it. Also, it doesn't matter, size is not so much of a criteria for us. I'll talk a little bit more about EQIP and some of the issues that the federal government has put in front of us. But for us within the extension system, we don't care if you're a half an acre or you're 1,000 or 10,000 acres. We like to come to your farm. We'd like to do an evaluation, and we'll scale the evaluation to the size of your farm. So we will do irrigation systems like furrow, border strips, any sprinkler type system, as well as drip, as well as micro sprinklers. So we're covering the gamut as far as what's out there for your irrigation system. And the great thing is it's all free of charge. So we really want to encourage the efficient use of irrigation. So the third objective of the grant is to sign folks up for EQIP. This is the Environmental Quality Incentive Program through the federal government. And this is where we get into a little sticky situation in that the people that we want to move forward with EQIP, there's a cap to how much those farmers can be making annually. And so they can't make more than $900,000, which is going to be a problem for some of our larger farms in our counties. But there's also another ray of hope here when I show you how many of the evaluations we have to do compared to how many EQIP signups we have to have within this grant. So we feel like we're going to be covered within that. They also have to comply with some certain criteria as far as compliance with highly erodible lands, wetland conservation provisions, and some other things. But we'll work through these issues. Not everybody that we do evaluations for is going to qualify for EQIP, and that's okay. So here it is, the deliverables, what we're going to do throughout the state. We're going to provide 36 irrigation scheduler mobile workshops annually. Many of these are already in the works for this year. And Dr. Troy R. Peters is already signed up to do 50 of them throughout the state, so we're in pretty good stead. We're also going to do workshops specific to WSU WISE throughout the state, as well as conduct 30 on-farm irrigation assessments annually throughout the whole state. So my requirement is to bring in 6, and I've already got 3 or 4 online, so if we can get a couple more in Whatcom County, that would be great. Total irrigation assessments for the entire grant is 90. So that seems, once we start this process, if we can get the 30 down in the first year, the other 60 should come right in hand. And then objective 3 is to provide technical assistance for EQIP for 6 producers annually. So you can see, of the folks that we're going to do assessments for, we only have to sign up a few of those individuals within each county to sign up for EQIP, and we'll meet those qualifications. A total of 18 EQIP grant applications over the 3-year period of the grant. So I'm sure you're all curious, what is the actual water savings that can come from this grant? If we can get all of the folks that we evaluate to average 20% irrigation efficiency moving forward, we can potentially save about 290 million gallons over the duration of the program, which is a very large impact and where we're headed and is our ultimate goal. Can't have a program without a logo. So I had a WSU student over in Pullman draw this up for us. We're very excited to offer you this logo. And if you have any ideas, maybe you're a graphic artist, if you have any ideas for us to tweak this to make it better, please let me know. And here's my contact information if you'd like to get a hold of me.
Great, thanks, Don. Any questions for Don? Anybody? Did you have one? Okay. What? Recording this.
Don, you mentioned savings of 20%
Yes.
from using the irrigation scheduler. How do you know that? Are these fields actually metered? I mean, do you know how much water is actually being pumped onto the field before and after?
No,
How?
It's based off of our work within farmers across the state, going in and having conversations with them about how much water they were using previous to irrigation schedule mobile, and then once we've started them, following up with them later on, and it's an average.
I'm worried about the average.
Yeah.
What if I'm hearing you right? You're saying you're relying on farmers' recollection of how much water they've used in the past. How do they know that if their water use isn't metered?
It tends to be, for most farmers over irrigate because water is ample. So once we put them on the irrigation scheduler mobile, they're finding out that they don't need to irrigate as often as what they've been doing. So they'll tell us, well, last year I irrigated my crop X amount of times, and now I'm on an irrigation schedule mobile and I'm not doing it as much, but I'm still having fabulous yields. So those are the kind of points that we're trying to get across.
There's an old adage that you can't manage what you're not measuring. Geez, I don't want to sound rude, but this is all hearsay. A farmer is recollecting what he thinks happened, but he doesn't know because he doesn't have a meter on his water.
Right.
I don't know.
And that's why we're going to be purchasing infrared meters to be able to get a sense of what the farmer's actually using. But once again, all this information is kept confidential. We don't release farmers' names or locations or anything of that nature. It's just for our own use internally, and then we do plan on publishing on this grant as well. Okay.
Are you going to be doing any like ground moisture monitoring, anything like that?
No, not within this grant. We are looking at another grant coming up potentially next year where we'll actually be going through and planting cover crops and seeing how that benefits crops. But this particular grant, no, we're not doing groundwater monitoring.
So you would go out to a farm, and you were talking about the sprinkler efficiency. I mean, how are you going to determine? I mean, are you going to go and test every sprinkler, or
Yes, so we test every sprinkler unless it's in a drip system. Then we take a segment of the field and we test, say, a few lines, and then we extrapolate that over the field.
I mean, are you going to be spending weeks at a farm with a whole crew of people, or?
So for an average evaluation, it takes about 4 hours to complete.
Really, that quickly? Okay.
Question here.
Yes.
How does, it's my understanding that if you're irrigating and you don't use your water, there's the use it or lose it rule in applying here. How are you finding that fits in with what you're attempting to do here? I mean, it sounds good for more efficiency. I'm just curious what.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring this question. So I know there's a whole lot of issues around water, and I didn't want to get wrapped up in the legalese of those. Those are taking place in the courtrooms where they ought to. So our standpoint from WSU is we want to help our farmers be as efficient as possible to help them grow the best crops that they can. As far as, say Western water law, I, as an extension faculty, I'm not going to be able to change that. But I can help our farmers be more efficient and do a better job of irrigating with what they have. And so that's where I'm focusing my time.
Any other questions? Great. Thanks, Don. Join me in thanking all of our presenters here this morning. And thank you all for coming. And again, be sure to turn in